I'm an impatient little wombat. I'm excited for today's video. This is actually the first products that I have tried from this brand. So today we are going to be reviewing the new Wayne Goss Luxury Cream Foundation in the Weightless powder. And then I also have the puff that he released. I just picked this up in the bundle from LYS Directly. So I have been testing this for the past week now, just so that I could make sure I actually had my thoughts together around whether or not I do think this foundation would work for me. And if I didn't, who it would work for and how it performs and how it wears, etc. And I have kind of formed my opinion on these products now, and I'm ready to share them. So hopefully this sounds interesting to you guys. Now, if it does, let's do the YouTubey things. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let's get into it. We are going to follow the kind of normal format that I use for my review videos, which is at the start, we're going to talk about all of the details, things you might need to know or you might like to know, information, etc. Then we're going to zoom in. I'm going to demo all of the products for you guys. And then at the end, I give you kind of my opinions around who I think the product is best suited for and all of that kind of stuff. There'll be timestamps for you guys on the video as well if you just want to skip to the demo or you just want to know the info or the thoughts, etc. So you can skip to whatever part you like, or you can just stay and watch the whole thing. All of the products that I use in today's video as well will be linked in the description box for you if you wanted to shop through them, etc. They are affiliated, so if you do use them, I really appreciate it. All of the money just goes back into my channel and creating content for you guys, so I do appreciate it. Thank you if you do use them. You don't have to, obviously. Do you. So this is Wayne Goss's latest release, and these are his complexion products, which we'll get into in a second. I've actually never tried anything from Wayne's cosmetic company before. He has released brushes, he's released blush and highlight duos, bronzer duos, lip products, eyeshadow palettes, etc. I really want to get all of his brushes. They look amazing and I think I would really enjoy them. They're just super expensive and I can't afford them yet. When I saw he was releasing complexion products, I immediately knew that I would 100% get them as long as the ingredients list was going to be friendly toward my sensitive skin. I do have sensitive combination skin, so keep that in mind because that is where my opinion will be coming from for this review. And that leads me to my disclaimer that I do like to give. This is all my complete opinion. Please take it as that, as just an opinion, because this is my channel, so it's obviously my opinion and it's going to come from my preference base of how I like my makeup style, what my skin type is, is my skin sensitive, etc., and just how I like my overall kind of face to look. So just keep that in mind, especially with complexion products. Everyone's skin will react differently to ingredients in makeup products, etc. So you might want to watch a few reviews unless you kind of know that you're like my skin twin. Then obviously we might vibe quite well, but if you find that sometimes my skin recommendations might vary to yours, you definitely want to find someone on YouTube that is more like your skin twin, if that kind of makes sense. So just keep that in mind, it's my opinion. But going back to my original point, when I saw that he was releasing complexion products, I immediately knew I was going to pick them up. I have actually been watching Wayne Goss on YouTube since I was 18 years old, and in fact up until I was the age of 24, he was the only YouTuber I watched on YouTube. Unintentionally, I didn't really know there was others out there. It took me a really long time to cotton onto YouTube, okay? I was busy traveling. But I started watching him when I was 18 years old because he did a tutorial on how to contour like Kim Kardashian, and I was obsessed with the Kardashians at that age and I wanted to do my makeup like them. And he is actually how I first learned to contour and do my makeup at the age of 18. Back then there wasn't contour products, etc. He was like, oh, you just go and get a shade of foundation that's like 2 or 3 shades darker than your skin tone, etc. And that's what I did. I went off to the chemist and I bought a L'Oreal like contour shade foundation, and that's what I used to use back then. So I've always had a really soft spot for Wayne, especially when it comes to like when I saw his complexion products be released, because he was who I learned and I got taught from on how to actually do my makeup in the first place. So that's why I knew 100% if the ingredient list was me friendly, I was going to pick it up. Thankfully, the ingredient list is me friendly. There is no coconut in these products and there is no fragrance in these products, which are the 2 ingredients that I know of that will give me acne 100%. So as soon as I saw that, I was all in. What he did release is the Luxury Cream Foundation, the Weightless powder, and a powder puff. I should also mention that Wayne Goss is only available on Beautylish, and I believe Beautylish does ship worldwide. I've never had anything but a pleasant experience with Beautylish. They ship very quickly. If you're in Australia and you hit certain like cart amounts, you'll either get free standard shipping or free express shipping. I always, even if I don't hit the cart amount for free express shipping, I do always pay for it. I think it's $10 US because it honestly gets to me in 3 days, and I'm an impatient little wombat and I want my products ASAP. Let's talk about this little powder puff first and foremost. So this is the puff he has released. Yes, mine is gross and dirty because I have been using it and testing it out. For those of you who are not new around here, you know that I love a powder puff. Now, my current favorite powder puff is the Linda Hallberg powder puff. I have 2 of these. These are the only ones I use. Any other powder puff I try, I don't ever find anything that compares to these. And for me, the reason why I love these ones is because they're just like, see how easily they're manipulated? And that's what I like, because I can really manipulate this product into any shape I need it to be to kind of get into the nooks and crannies of my face, if you will. Now, Wayne's powder puff is $10 US, so a reasonable price for me, especially considering that this is multi-use and how heavy and kind of luxe it feels, and also in comparison to the Beauty Blender puff, which I also have. So this is the Beauty Blender puff, if you are wondering. I believe off the top of my head this is 28 Australian dollars. Now, I could be incorrect about that, and I will pop it on the screen if I've got that wrong, but for me, I hate this powder puff. I do not use it. I hate it. It's so heavy and thick, and you really can't, I don't know if you can tell, you can't like move this around. You can't manipulate the shape of it like you can with this. I don't enjoy using this one personally. I know a lot of people love it. I just don't like it. I would say the Wayne Goss one is in the middle of these two. So this one has the fluffy velvet side. I don't know if you can see this. So it has that fluffy velvet side, and then it also has more of a kind of not so fluffy side, for lack of a better technical term. And that's one of the reasons why I say this is like in the middle of these two, because this one here from Linda Hallberg is just a material. It's just a soft material, whereas this one here from the Beauty Blender is like that fluffy velvety material. So with the Wayne Goss one, you have the Linda Hallberg side really on this side, and then you have the fluffy Beauty Blender side on this side. I think that it's not quite the same materials. They're a little bit same but different, but for reference point, that's how I would describe it. And then in terms of like the ability to kind of manipulate this puff how you want it, it's kind of like in the middle of these two, where I can't manipulate it as much as I want to, like as I can with this one, but I can do it a hell of a lot more than this one. So I really do feel like if you have these three, it's like directly in the middle here. He designed the puff as well to be able to use this side as your foundation. So this is a little elastic band, and you can like flip it over, which I think is really quite cool and unique. And then this side is designed to be used with the powder, where it is like that fluffy side, and you really work the product into it and then disperse it evenly over the face. I don't mind this powder puff at all. It's definitely something I will use within my collection. I will be completely transparent with you and say that I 100% will continue to reach for my Linda Hallberg powder puff over this one. However, I think if you're someone that likes a round puff and you want that multi-use side, then this is a really good option. Let's move on to the Luxury Cream Foundation. So this is Wayne's foundation, and it just comes in kind of like a compact, just like any cream kind of foundation generally would, and then you get your product on the inside right here. Now, the Luxury Cream Foundation itself is $38 US, so for me, a very reasonable price point, especially for a more high-end brand, and it has 28.3 grams or 1 ounce of product, so I believe that's quite a lot of product, and it has a 24-month expiry, which is awesome. So you have 2 years to use this product up before it goes off. Again, that's just an incredible shelf life for a foundation. Most foundations are 6 to 12. I've seen some for 18 months. This is also made in the USA, if you are wondering. Now, there are 12 shades in this foundation range, and it is not a massively diverse foundation range by any means or shape or form. It definitely needs work. It definitely needs work from all spectrums of it, particularly the deep side, but also just everything in between. However, Wayne did discuss this in his original post or video, sorry, where he announced this release, and that's where it comes into play that he is a completely self-funded cosmetic brand, which means that it's all his own dollars that he's putting into this brand, and he can only afford to do so much at one time, which makes complete sense to me. So he explained that yes, the shade range is small and it's not as diverse as everyone would like and even what he would like, but he said as his brand continues to do better and the product continues to do better, he will have more money to be able to release a full like shade range and a more diverse shade range. So I kind of respect that. I know there might be, I think there's two probably thought processes out there from people where they're like, why release a product if you can't release it properly? And then there's the other side that it's like, completely respect that, get it, let's do the best that we can because I love my shade. And I can see both sides of that argument. I respect the fact that he just tackled the shade range head on, no holds barred, didn't, you know, try and gloss over it. He just outrightly said, I get it, the shade range isn't ideal, this is all I could afford to do, and as it grows, it will grow. So at least he acknowledged it, you know, head on. But I can understand that it would be annoying that you probably don't have your shade in here, because even for me, the shade that I picked isn't quite perfect. I probably need a shade. So I am the shade 9 in this foundation, and I'm glad I picked up the shade 9. I'll talk about that in a second, but I'm probably a shade in between shade 9 and shade 10, to be fair. So even for me, this isn't like a perfect shade. He does have, like, shade 12 is kind of like a very, very light shade that you can use to either mix with your like actual shade to use as like a concealer underneath the eyes, or I guess if you have like a darker shade, you can mix it with that one to create your kind of shade. But that's a little bit annoying that you have to buy 2 products to get your shade and then also mix them, etc. So that's going to be a decision that only you can decide if that's something that's like worthwhile for you. As I said, I am shade 9 in this foundation, and it's an okay shade. It is a neutral undertone and it's okay. And in the summer months especially, we're going into winter now, so I think for winter I'm going to have to kind of finesse it a little bit or get that lighter shade to kind of mix it up. I'll see if, sometimes I notice if I hold it back here you can see the shade better. It does match my hand quite well. I don't know if you can see it here. It matches my hand quite well and it does match me quite well, but it is just slightly too dark and maybe slightly too cool undertone, just ever so slightly, for my actual face. But honestly, I can really make it work. If I'm wearing a fake tan, it's going to be completely fine. If not, maybe a hair too light, and in summer it's really going to match perfectly. But as I said, we're going into winter, so I might have to finesse it a little bit for winter time. Before we move on from this foundation, I just wanted to read to you guys the kind of description and the expectations that you can have from Wayne around this product. So it says, discover your smoothest skin with Wayne Goss's first ever foundation, the Luxury Cream Foundation. This classic cream formula glides onto skin like silk, delivering buildable coverage with a satin finish that looks, feels, and wears just like real beautiful skin, no matter your age. Thanks to a high pigment load, a little goes a long way. Blend it out for sheer payoff or build it up for your ideal level of coverage. So coverage level, it says, is full. I will cover that thought of mine in the application. The finish is satin and the formula is cream. That's the claims of the foundation itself, and I know in Wayne's video as well he talked about really wanting to make a product that is going to suit any skin at any age, which I definitely appreciate, and I think we all can, right? Let's move on to the Weightless powder. So the Weightless powder is $28 US. Again, I think that is quite a fair price point. Now this one here has a 24-month expiry, a 0.25 gram, 0.88 ounce volume, if you will, amount of product in there, and is also made in the US. Now I'm going to actually read the claims of this powder. It is the only shade, and he does say that this is a translucent shade. The description of this powder from Wayne is, your search for the perfect setting powder ends here. This invisible loose powder from Wayne Goss looks and feels like nothing on skin. Free of talc and pigment, the Weightless powder blurs the look of pores and blemishes while imparting a velvet matte finish to skin, all without caking or adding unwanted texture. So it's ultra finely milled, melts into skin without adding unwanted texture or altering the color of foundation, creates a silky velvet matte finish, subtle blurring effect, used for baking, concealer, setting foundation, or as a finishing powder to soften any visible lines or edges. That is the powder itself. Not much more to really say about it until we get into the application and my final opinions on it. So I am also currently filming my Melt Cosmetics Gemini 2 review. As we're doing this, we batch film around here. So I'm gonna go and actually create an eye look, etc. with that foundation, with that eyeshadow palette, sorry, first. And then I will come back and we will be zoomed in nice and close and we will apply these products together. I have started my eye look with the Gemini 2 from Melt Cosmetics palette. So that review, etc. will be up after this one. Now I have already primed my face using my Rose Inc Tinted Serum. I know you guys want my thoughts on this versus the Chanel. It's coming, trust me, I'm just still forming my thoughts. And then I also put my Tarte Cosmetics Poreless Primer through my T-zone. So let's apply the cream foundation in the shade 9. With this foundation, I think it's gonna really depend on your skin type and your makeup preference as to how you use this and how you find it. Because, for example, I know Wayne recommends using it with this powder puff, and he says that by using it with the powder puff on this side, it really creates a like smoothing, perfect kind of coverage, pushes into the skin kind of effect. I personally don't find that this puff does anything good for my skin in terms of applying the foundation. It's not terrible in any way. I just find it takes me longer, it's more tedious, and doesn't smooth or really do anything for my skin. And then I know when he says if you're going to use a foundation brush to apply it, he recommends applying the product like first to your face. So like say picking up like a little bit with your finger or something and dotting it on your face and then blending it out, because if you go directly in here, you're going to pick up too much product, etc. And same with like the sponge. Again, I've only watched Kinky Sweat's review, and I know even when she applied it directly, she was like, oh yeah, there is a lot of coverage to this. And I know he kind of talks about, he really does kind of caution you to be wary because there is a lot of coverage. I don't know. I feel like my version of full coverage versus the general consensus of full coverage is very different. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, maybe who cares, it's everyone's personal preference, but I don't find this to be full coverage really. You can definitely build it up to be pretty full coverage. Like you can build it up to be like a lighter end of full coverage in my opinion, but when I compare this to the KVD Good Apple foundation, this has like no coverage compared to that, because that foundation to me, the KVD Good Apple, that's coverage. Okay, that is like full coverage, wham bam. You want to blank everything, that foundation is going to do it, whereas I find this one to be quite sheer. Even when I apply it directly with a brush. When I apply it directly, like when I go in directly with my brush and then apply it to my face, that's when I get like a really good medium, almost full coverage in my opinion. Now my opinion could vary very differently from everyone else's, so please keep that in mind, and I feel like it must, because everyone keeps talking about how full coverage this is and I just don't find that. I will do like this portion of my face with the powder puff because I know you guys want to see it. I don't like using the powder puff. I prefer to use my brush with this foundation or my sponge. That's just how I prefer to do it. If I'm going for a more natural everyday, I tend to use my sponge, but generally I'm lying. My preference is the brush. Now this is, I get asked about this foundation brush all the time, by the way. This is the LYS Foundation Brush, and I really like it, and I actually do really recommend it. It's a good solid foundation brush. Let's just apply it with the puff. So I've got like not the powder side, the other side. So I have been testing this for about, I'm just gonna pick this up directly from here. I've been testing this for about a week, close to a week now. I've worn it every day since I got home from my trip to really get my thoughts. And yeah, this is just like, I don't know if you can see, like it really hasn't done anything there. So let's go directly. So that's the shade match, by the way, and you can already see the dew. It says it's a satin finish. I'd probably call it more of a, yeah, I guess dewy virgin on satin, depending on your skin type. I think if you have dry skin, you probably find it's satin, and if you have combo oily skin, you'll find it's dewy. So that is with the powder puff. It's built up on my cheek here. I don't know if you can see. You can still see all my imperfections peeking through, but it has a lovely glow to it. So this side has none, and this side has one layer of that foundation, but you can really see all my imperfections peeking through still. I don't find this foundation to be smoothing through this area at all for me. It doesn't emphasize it, which is important to note, because the LYS foundation and the Danessa Myricks foundation, as a side note, that really emphasized this area. It doesn't emphasize it. It just really applies to the skin and makes it your skin but better. So it's not going to give you like an Instagram filter in my experience. It's not going to like change much about your skin. It's just going to kind of even it out, and you can apply the coverage where you want it to, and it makes it your skin, looks like your skin but better. It really does. It just looks like proper skin. Which is, I know most of you right now would be like, this is absolutely what I want in a foundation, and it is very pretty. I'm just gonna leave this here for now, and I'm going to do this side with the brush how I would, and I just go directly in here. I just find that I get the most kind of bang for my buck if I do that. I don't know if you can tell, it is slightly too dark for me. It's like, because it is quite a sheer foundation, that's where I can get away with the shade, but when I do want to build that coverage level up, that's when I kind of can't get away with the shade. A shade between 9 and 10 would be great. And I just kind of really stamp it in and use stippling motions to kind of blend it all into the skin. I'll go and use my puff again for my forehead, sorry, because I forgot to do it over this side. And then I know with the puff he kind of says to like stamp and use downward motions. This side of my face is with the puff, this side of my face is with the brush. You can kind of tell I still have imperfections peeking through. I need to build it up here. This is one layer. This side definitely has way less coverage than this side. I say way less, that's probably quite dramatic. They're probably not too far off each other. But it looks nice, right? Like it looks like skin. It doesn't look like the Lisa Eldridge foundation kind of had similar, less coverage than this even for me, but like it sat on my skin. It really, like it just literally sat on my skin and wouldn't like melt into my skin. Whereas this one really has become one, is the best way I can describe it, with my skin. It does settle in fine lines. Like it settles into my smile lines here, like instantly pretty much. Not to like a, I've had worse. Like the Danessa Myricks one was just like, and the LYS, like it like creates the Grand Canyon here pretty much, but like this one just settles in them to the point where it's like it knows there's a fine line there, but it doesn't emphasize it any further as the day goes on. It's like that's all it will do. It doesn't set, but it doesn't feel like super tacky. It doesn't have that thing where if I like put my fingerprint here, then it like moves around like the Rare Beauty foundation. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to build this foundation up to how I like it. I'll show you guys what it looks like after I've done that. And then we're going to move on to the powder, etc. And then I'm just going to give you guys at the end like my overall like thoughts. This is the foundation built up to how I like it. So you can see most of my imperfections have kind of been covered now. Like they're pretty well covered, and I do have kind of like a few bumps here and there from wearing like a mask for 13 hours straight on a plane, etc. So my skin is definitely not flawless at the moment, but you can still see like the foundation isn't sitting on top of my skin or anything like that. It really has just become like my skin but better. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly go and conceal my under eyes, etc., and do everything that I do before I powder, and then we'll go ahead and move on to the powder. So just a jiffy. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on to the Weightless powder. Now I am going to do one side with a brush, one side with the puff, so that you can kind of see the difference. And yeah, so I'm going to take my Sigma F35 first. You guys would have seen me use this brush a lot. It's the one that I do always use on my under eyes, and I'm going to lightly tap this into the T-zone. And then I'm just going to pick up my e.l.f. powder brush for the rest of my face, just because it's a little bit bigger, it'll be a bit quicker. Now that is one side with powder and one side without, so no powder, powder. And I do feel like, I know he has said that this powder isn't supposed to change the color of your foundation at all. I find it does slightly in a really good way. It kind of lightens this foundation for me. I don't know if you can see the difference, but I do find that this kind of slightly gives me an ever so slight white cast. But because this foundation is a little touch too dark, it kind of makes it a little bit better for me. And then once I've like bronzed, etc., it gets better. But I do find that this does darken just ever so slightly the foundation, at least for my skin tone, I believe. Now I'm going to take the powder puff that Wayne released for the other side. So this is the fluffy side, and I will just pick up some of the product and I just kind of like really work it into the puff using the cap. I will set my under eyes first, which I just find this puff is probably a little bit big for the under eyes. And then I'll just tap it. Pick some more product up and tap it over the rest of the face. So now my face is fully set with the powder, this side with the powder puff, this side with the brush. I don't know if you guys can tell, there's really not much of a difference between the two techniques, if I'm honest with you. Yeah, I really don't see. I just find that my eyes are better set on this side than this side because the brush just gets perfectly under my eye, whereas the powder puff is really quite bulky. I think you can really tell that it has lightened my overall complexion. It's definitely mattified it. I have a slight sheen here, but really my whole complexion is now completely matte. So if you do have dry skin and you still want that glow and dew to peek through, or if you're anyone that still wants that glow and dew to peek through, you might just want to take a small brush and strategically powder where you need to, like maybe ever so softly through here, etc., rather than doing the whole face like I do, because you are going to take away that whole dew effect. I'm going to go now and finish the rest of my makeup, finish my lower lash line, etc., and we will come back and my makeup will be fully done, and I'm going to give you guys my thoughts on the overall products, the wear time of them, ways I like to use them best, etc. So 2 seconds. So I have gone off camera and finished the rest of my makeup, and I wanted to show you guys a bit more up close just what my skin is looking like. So this is it, all completely finished, powder, setting spray, etc. Everything I've used on my face will be linked down below in the description box for you guys. So now I'm just going to zoom you back and we'll wrap this up. Let's go through my kind of overall thoughts of everything. Let's talk about the powder. I think the name of this powder, the Weightless powder, overall is a very accurate name for it. I do find this powder to feel very weightless on the skin and almost like it's not even there. And so from that perspective, I think it's a really unique, like cool kind of formula, and I do like that aspect of it. When I first tried this product and I put it on my face and I put it on my under eyes, I was really quite blown away, and I really was like, oh my god, have I just found like the ultimate powder for me and my skin type? And I really was just fangirling over this powder. And then as I used it throughout the week multiple times on camera and off camera, I really kind of have slowly changed my opinion of this powder as time has gone by and as I've seen it wear after an hour or more, etc. I definitely do not 100% do not like this powder on my under eyes. I don't know if you can even see on camera, but they are so dark and crepey and dry looking. And yes, I have dark crepey under eyes and dry under eyes at the best of times, but like my Laura Mercier Secret Brightening Powder, my Pat McGrath Blurring Powder, for example, while they don't look like 100% perfection, because I haven't found that yet, they look a hell of a lot better than what this powder does. The other thing about this powder is it really does look, you guys would have seen in the footage, as long as it translated to camera, how matte this powder made my skin when I initially put it on. It really took all of that shine away, but I don't know if you can even tell now. I mean, obviously I have highlighter here, but I don't know if you can even just tell already that that full matte look has completely gone off my skin, and like even just here on my forehead, it really has that shine and everything has already started coming through. So if I was to use this powder for, say, a work day where I was going into the office and I was going to be there for 10 or more hours, I would really need to like use a lot more of this powder than I used and really set my face. I'm not someone that wants to touch up throughout the day. I do not have time to do that. So I need makeup that when I put it on in the morning, it will last me 12 hours if I am going to work and in the office, etc. And I have products that will do that. I have foundations and powders that I can use that will last me 12 hours and pretty much look exactly the same by the end of the day. So I would have to use a lot more of this in theory to get that effect. But if I was to use a lot more of this, I would look like an absolute pale ghost, because even as you saw in the footage, it really did kind of make me paler from using this. Like, it did add that bit of a white cast. So I wouldn't be able to pack much more of this powder on than what I did in this video, because it's going to then make me extremely, extremely pale and unhealthy looking. So in terms of the long wearing on my personal combination skin, I don't find this powder to create that longevity in my makeup that my other powders do. Even my Kosas powder, for example, that really does create longevity in my makeup. My Laura Mercier translucent powder, etc. It really does create that more longevity in my makeup. I think if you have dry skin, you will really, really, really enjoy this powder. I think you will absolutely love it. And I think if you are someone that has combination oily skin that really doesn't mind your oils really coming quite through, or if you're someone that doesn't need your makeup to be as long wearing and you have that combo oily skin, then I think you'll really like this powder. If you don't have dark under eyes and dry under eyes like me, you'll probably like this on your under eyes as well. Overall, it's like probably a solid B powder, but when you have A+ powders in my, like, your collection, or that work better for me, for example, you know, it's, yeah, you know. Again, complete personal opinion and based on my preferences, so just keep that in mind. You might really like this powder. Let's move on to the Luxury Cream Foundation. This isn't my favorite foundation. I think a lot of people will really, really, really like this product. I do. I think this purely comes down to my personal opinion and preferences on how I like my makeup to look. Now, if you've been around here for a while, you know that I do like my foundations to really smooth my texture on my skin. I really do like them to be quite smoothing. And I don't find that this product really does much for me in terms of my T-zone and my pore area here. I definitely have other foundations that do a lot more for me in that area. And because of that, that's kind of why I don't super love this foundation. I do find it to wear away. I wouldn't really wear this to work. Again, I don't think that this would wear well for me and my combination skin throughout my entire workday without having to touch up, etc. But where I do really like this foundation is it really does look like your skin, but better. This foundation on my forehead looks divine, and my forehead for me is my least textured. It's like my youngest looking area almost of my face, if you will. It doesn't have my acne scarring, etc. So this on my forehead looks absolutely lovely. It's like from here up, it's just A++ perfection. But it's just this area here, it just really, it wears away, it settles into pores and fine lines. And then the rest of my face, it doesn't look too bad. I think if you're someone that wants a really, 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 really natural, everyday wearing kind of foundation and you want that hydration in the skin, you are going to really enjoy this. Like I said, I think a lot of people are going to love this, but for me, it's not something I'm going to necessarily gravitate towards every day. I would grab for this if I'm going to breakfast in the morning, maybe even if I'm going for a dinner, something not long wearing that I do want to look effortless and natural for, then this is what I would gravitate towards. But more so for the everyday, more so when I really want to look quite flawless, I would gravitate more towards my NARS Light Reflecting Foundation or like my Uoma foundation, for example. They're really quite perfecting on my skin. Overall, I'm not mad that I have it. I definitely don't not like this foundation. Like, I do like it. It just hasn't like blown me away to the point where I'm like, oh my god, you have to run, don't walk to grab this foundation. And again, like I said, if you're my skin twin and you're my makeup twin, like if you really vibe with my makeup style and you think your skin is really similar, then you might have the same thoughts as me. But if you kind of feel like you vary a little bit, or you think that maybe my makeup is too heavy or that kind of a thing, then potentially you'll really enjoy these products and this foundation. So yeah, hopefully that all made sense, and hopefully it was helpful in some way, shape or form. If you have any questions, just let me know down below. I'm happy to answer them as best I can. I'd be super interested to know if any of you have bought these products and what you think of them for your skin type. Yeah, absolutely would be very keen. A lot of us, especially a lot of you that comment quite regularly, I know we do have quite opposite styles in terms of foundation. So I'd be interested to like let everyone know what your skin type is and like how it works for you, because we all are very different, and that's how the products are going to perform, etc. differently. Anyway, that's it. That's the end. I hope you enjoyed it. Please don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, subscribe, hit that notification bell if you're watching till this point, and if you are, you're an absolute legend. I truly appreciate you. Thank you so much. I hope I get to this point sometimes and I forget exactly what I am supposed to say. I hope you have an amazing day wherever you are in the world, and I will see you next time. Bye.